And now we're being joined from, well, via our revolutionary virtual reality interface by our correspondent in Abuja, Terry Kumi. Terry, welcome to Lagos.
I always like when we add that part.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I was going to ask you, first of all, when will you make the attempt to touch me?
Well, you know, I actually made the attempt the first time we did that. You know, I was actually stretching my arm for a handshake. It just, well, let's not get carried away, though. I mean, someday we'll try that and see how it goes.
Not today.
Yeah, not today. But so let's begin with the briefing. You're just coming from where Yaga was talking about some reports or so. How did that turn out? How did that briefing turn out, especially their observation on voter turnout?
Okay, so according to Yaga, it's a preliminary report. A more comprehensive one will come up after the elections by tomorrow. Some of the things some of the observations they made was that they had more PDP agents across the polling units than APC agents. They had issues with missing and incomplete materials in some local governments. Some local governments, no elections were held as a result of that. I understand that in one of those local governments, arrests were made. There were issues with voting without smart card reader. They had ballot box snatching in some instances. They went ahead to make some recommendations. They asked INEC to respond to reports of substituting trained INEC officials during the course of the election. Then they're asking INEC not to declare results or declare a winner in cases where the number of registered voters in cancelled polling units will affect the margin between candidates.
Now, Terry, before we get to the recommendations, I do know that INEC promised Nigerians that, you know, this would be a better election day. How well have they fulfilled that promise?
I'll speak from the angle of the reports we've received from some of our correspondents across the state, and the question is quite apt. The question now is, what is the improvement from the last election? If you look at the voter turnout, it's quite low, and you'd expect that, considering that this is the government that is closer to the people, state government and state house of assembly, you'd expect that people would turn out, but then voter apathy is something that a lot of people have observed in this election. So the question of whether INEC has improved might not be answered right away until possibly the results are out and the observers present their reports of whether or not we have an improved voter turnout. But most importantly is timekeeping is very important in this country. Elections should start at 8. It doesn't mean that materials should arrive at 8 or INEC officials should leave their house, their various locations at 8 o'clock.
I agree with you.
So if voters are waiting at 8 o'clock and election materials are not there, INEC officials are not there,
should have arrived earlier.
What kind of process do you expect when people are waiting till midday to vote?
Well, in other words, let's just put it in the way that, you know, the improvement is probably a relative, because for some it might have improved, but for others it might just be the same process in the past time. But, you know, we were saying that we'd hold on before we come to the recommendations. So what were some of those recommendations?
Okay, as I said earlier, one of the recommendations is that INEC should hold on declaring results or winners in a case where it appears as though the number of registered voters in a cancelled polling area or unit will affect the outcome of the margin between candidates. That's one. And also they're asking that INEC should paste these results at the collation centers, not just announcing it, but they should be pasted at the collation centers. And then there's the accusation of substitution of INEC ad hoc staff, trained ones, during the process, and they want INEC to respond to that report as well.
Well, hopefully INEC will respond anytime soon. But Terry, I mean, it's always a pleasure to see you right here in Lagos speaking to us. Thanks again for the updates. We would be waiting for more of that as time goes by.